Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the official opposition, I would like to reiterate the messages of condolences and support from this House to the victims who are still fighting for their lives, for those whose lives were cut short, and for their families, and for the community still reeling from the senseless shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC. Je souhaite réitérer le message de
I wish to repeat the condolences and support of this House to those families affected, those whose lives were tragically taken. Our condolences and thoughts to the very shaken community.
as to the support being provided and share any news that would be appropriate as this investigation proceeds.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, et pour la question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable colleague for his question.
Been grieving since the horrific events of Tuesday, and nowhere is that grief more deeply felt than in the community of Tumbler Ridge itself. The residents have come together to support each other in this time of indescribable pain, and obviously, Mr. Speaker, we want to assure them they are not alone. The Minister of Public Safety is in Tumbler Ridge working with colleagues, including the Member of Parliament, working with provincial and municipal partners to hear directly from the community and coordinating with those levels of government. Service Canada officials are planning to be present very soon on the ground as well, and we expect that further updates will be provided from the RCMP as information becomes available and as their investigation progresses. Finally, Mr. Speaker, at the invitation of the Mayor of Tumbler Ridge, the Prime Minister will be traveling to the community on Friday to attend a vigil in memory of the victims of this week's tragic shootings, and the Prime Minister has invited leaders of all parties to accompany him to the community. Mr. Speaker, this has been a dark week in the history of our country, and I know we will all, working together, get through this, and we continue to send our heartfelt best wishes and sympathies to the people of Tumbler Ridge.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
I thank the Minister for that update. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian dream of home ownership is fading for too many young Canadians. Despite lots of announcements, the actual results from the Liberal Housing Plan is downright depressing. Home ownership among 30 to 34-year-olds has fallen to 52%. New home sales are down from 45% in the GTA and 56% in Vancouver. In fact, the government's own housing agency is predicting that new home starts will fall, not increase, by more than 18% for the next 3 years. It's clear more bureaucracy isn't the answer. When will the government adopt the Conservative plan to kickstart home building by removing the GST on all new homes and restore the dream of home ownership for young Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government cares deeply about affordability for young Canadians, and that's why before the House right now is the Build Canada Homes Act. Build Canada Homes is about strengthening Canada's future by creating a modern, resilient housing industry. We are building an industry that protects our economy, empowers our workers, and gives Canadians, especially young Canadians, the affordable housing they need. The Build Canada Homes Act is before this House. We hope the members opposite will support it.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Speaker, the government's own data shows that building bureaucracy doesn't actually get results. But the Liberals also have it backwards on the auto sector. In the last 10 years of the Liberal government, the number of vehicles produced in Canada has fallen from 2.3 million cars to 1.2 million. Their plan forced working Canadians to send their tax dollars to subsidize the purchase of EVs that most Canadians can't afford, and the vast majority of which of those EVs sold in Canada are not made in Canada. That means some of the biggest winners of this subsidy program are American auto workers. Instead of forcing Canadian workers to subsidize foreign-made vehicles, why not adopt the Conservative plan and remove the GST on all new vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
I would like first and foremost to extend my, of course, prayers and heart to the victims and families in Tumbler Ridge, and know that this government is in support of those affected. Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind my colleague that the money that is going to be supported in EV incentives is actually for Canadians. at a time where we need to make sure that affordability is at the core of everything we do as a government. And that is why Canadians need to be able to have access to more money to afford the right cars, including those made in Canada. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Charlebourg.
The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the number of cars manufactured in Canada has decreased by half compared to 2016, and over 5,000 jobs have been lost. To add insult to injury, the Prime Minister has introduced an auto strategy that subsidizes EVs made in foreign countries. However, on this side of the House, we have a better idea. Why not ease the burden on Canadian workers and taxpayers by cutting these subsidies for EVs manufactured abroad? Do they think it's a good idea? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what is a good idea is our auto strategy. Our auto strategy is welcomed and applauded by the industry, by the industry's workers, by all those who want to make sure that they are employed today, tomorrow, and in 10 years in that sector. The world is moving toward electrification of transportation. We need to modernize. We need to go in that direction, and that's why we have our auto strategy. Why are they ideologically opposed to not only affordability, but also electric transportation? The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. So does that mean that the global market is doing well and that Canadian market is not? Now, Mr. Speaker, Quebec City, as we know, has always been a tight-knit community, a place where you can buy a house, raise a family in total safety. But now, Mr. Speaker, we must say that the Liberals have increased immigration so much that it has become impossible for young people to buy their first home, even in Quebec City. One thing is certain, that doesn't seem to bother the mayor of Quebec City, who celebrates this terrible situation in the Globe and Mail. Will the Minister of Immigration finally admit that the disproportionate immigration levels imposed on Quebec are preventing young Quebecers from buying a home and starting a family? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's ironic to hear the member talking about affordability. The mandate of Build Canada Homes is to build affordable homes all over the country. There are sectors going through tough times right now, like steel, lumber, aluminum. We are going to protect industries, protect jobs, and we are going to build homes that are affordable to people. There are also a lot of helpful NGOs. Will they stand up for their constituents and their ridings and vote for the budget, Mr. Speaker? That's the real question. The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. I don't think she understood my question. She should read an article published yesterday. In the article, Étienne Alexandre Beauregard, who's a young Quebec intellectual, warned that the war on cars, radical environmentalism, and overly restrictive immigration levels are changing Quebec's unique identity. Young people can no longer afford to build a home, and Quebec City's Liberal MPs, just like the mayor of Quebec, refuse to face the facts. Can the Minister of Immigration finally admit that by exceeding Quebec's intake and integration capacity for immigrants, her Liberal government has caused house prices to skyrocket, preventing young people from becoming homeowners? The Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, day after day, what the Conservatives have for us is slogans. They don't have a plan. They don't have suggestions. All they do is block things. Canadians expect that their members of parliament stand up to defend their interests. We have a plan. Our plan is Budget 2025, which is still stuck in committee, being blocked. We want to have a strong economy today, a strong economy tomorrow, and we want to support workers going through tough times. So will the Conservatives support us and work with us, setting their ego aside? Once again, I, the Speaker, am standing. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, according to the government, 85,000 pensioners are experiencing issues with their old age security benefits because of the Curam software. The government has been aware of this since June. Still today, they refuse to take action. Meanwhile, the cost of Curam has skyrocketed. It went from $1.75 billion to over $6 billion. 85,000 Canadians are suffering from a software that has a cost overrun of $5 billion. But the Liberals feel that everything is fine and dandy. Our patience has run out. Will the Prime Minister order a commission of inquiry on Curam? The Honourable Minister. This project was actually under budget. Over 7 million seniors are now receiving their benefits on time through a modern system. The total cost of CURAM is the cost for 4 distinct projects. 1.75 billion was the amount for that project, and 6.6 billion was the amount approved for the total duration of the project. If the member knows of anyone affected, she can give us their names and we will help them. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the government's own numbers estimate that 85,000 retirees are affected by CURAM issues, but the ministers tell us that we can give them the names of those who are affected if there are problems. There are 85,000 people experiencing problems, according to the government's own estimates. And the cost overrun for the software ballooned from 1.75 billion to 6.6 billion. And the government says, oh, no, that's not a cost overrun. They tell us it includes the cost of inflation and contingency planning. Inflation, Mr. Speaker. When will they set up a commission of inquiry? The Honourable Minister of Families and Employment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every day I say the same thing. Our old system was very old. We invested to modernize our system, and the vast majority of benefit recipients have no problems. If there are any unresolved cases, the minister and the office, we are working with them to quickly solve their problems. And if the minister would like to hear more about that, I'd be happy to discuss it. The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Well, isn't it wonderful, Mr. Speaker? CURAM, the software, was supposed to cost 1.7 billion. Now it's up to 6.6 billion, which is a cost overrun of $5 billion. But according to the Liberals, it's not a cost overrun. No, they say that the initial contracts had a lower amount because things cost more now, maybe inflation. They really take us for fools. And there are many issues in Quebec. All right, well, there are limits. There are some limits.
L'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've worked very well with the MP opposite, and I invite him to come and be briefed on the CURAM system. As we've been saying in the House, this is a very old system that needed modernization. In fact, one of the aspects of modernization is people can now apply for their benefits online without personal assistance. That's going to relieve the load on the entire department. And Mr. Speaker, 7.5 million people have transitioned to this new system without problems. For those urgent cases that are stuck in the queue, we will make sure they get their benefits urgently. We can do that within 48 hours, Mr. Speaker. Please send us the names.
The Honourable Member for Elgin St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The dream of home ownership is now a fantasy for more and more young Canadians. 93% of them are saying that they are concerned about the state of housing. Nearly half of them believe they will have to leave their own communities because they can't afford to live there. The government's own housing agency says home building will drop over the next 3 years and prices will go up even more. But I've got good news for the Liberals. We have a solution. A Conservative government would remove the GST on new homes under $1.3 million to make them more affordable. Why won't the Liberals do it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news for the Conservatives. There are 2 bills before this House that they can support that improve affordability for young Canadians. The first is the Budget Implementation Act, which brings in the first-time home ownership GST rebate. The second thing it brings in is housing infrastructure that brings down the cost of housing. Wow. And on top of that, they can support the Build Canada Homes Act, which is catalyzing modern methods of construction and creating jobs for young Canadians.
Excellent. The Honourable Member for Elgin St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing these Liberals are building is false hope and bureaucracy. Liberal house flippers and penthouse dwellers profit while young Canadians pay the price. On this side of the House, we listen to the experts. The London Home Builders Association told me this week that builders have to spend tens of thousands of dollars per home just on red tape and regulations. Every dollar spent on bureaucracy pushes homes further out of reach for young Canadians. Ontario lost 10,000 home building jobs last year because because no one is able to build. When will the Liberals reverse course, cut the red tape, and scrap the GST on homes for families?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I know the members' community I know is rioting very well. They expect better than hurling insults. That's not a way to get things done in this House of Commons, Mr. Speaker. The point is, and he talks about the London Home Builders Association, it's good. We met this week as well. They talked about, among other things, the Housing Accelerator Fund, which in St. Thomas alone is leading to duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, mid-rise apartments, and row houses. We're going to continue in that vein, working with municipalities, because we're going to get things done for Canadians and not play games.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
Speaker, because of the Liberals, the dream of home ownership is fading for young Canadians. According to CMHC, new housing starts will drop every year for the next 3 years. Nearly half of Canadians say they have to move out of the community they grew up in because they can't afford a home. Instead of incentivizing new construction, the Liberals are building a fourth housing bureaucracy called Build Canada Homes. For what? Why won't the Liberals adopt our Conservative plan, remove the GST of all new homes, and get construction going in Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. More good news. Build Canada Homes is delivering affordable housing for Canadians. In just 100 days, they have secured landmark agreements with the provinces and the cities.
Wow.
Advanced building on 6 federal lands. They're lining up thousands of affordable homes, grounds with shovels in the ground very soon. And over the past month alone, they have projects underway in Nova Scotia, Quebec, Ontario, and they're setting forth on delivering 7,500 new homes.
Wow.
This is how we catalyze a new home building industry. And you know what? Keep the momentum going. Support Build Canada Homes Act.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for York Centre.
The only thing the Liberals are building is a fourth housing agency. More desk jobs for Liberal insiders and more Liberal waste. But CMHC is telling them their housing plan is dead on arrival. New housing starts will fall every year for the next 3 years. Builders are laying off workers, and Build is warning that 100,000 construction jobs are now at risk. So instead of building a fourth government agency, why won't they adopt our Conservative plan, remove the GST of all new construction so young people can afford to buy a home?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I wish that the Conservatives knew more about construction. It seems what they know about is obstruction. Mr. Speaker, if these Conservatives cared about building homes for young Canadians, they would pass the 2 bills that we have before the House right now. They would pass our Budget Implementation Act, and they would pass our Build Canada Homes Act, because those are the tools that are getting shovels in the ground right across Canada for the next generation of young Canadians who need affordable homes.
The Honourable Member for Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
Under this Liberal government, the Canadian dream of home ownership is rapidly fading for young people. CMHC reports that housing starts are actually going to be down over the next 3 years by up to 18% compared to last year. So why don't the Liberals just adopt the Conservative plan to eliminate GST on all new housing construction up to $1.3 million and help restore the dream of home ownership for young Canadians?
Yeah, right. That's the camper van.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, thoughts and prayers for the community of Tumbler Ridge. That's a party that's not serious about housing. Their leader called middle-class housing shacks, co-op housing Soviet style. Yeah. There's members on that side that mocked modular homes.
Wow.
And to cap it all off, that leader told his members not to advocate for housing programs in their ridings that would have helped their ridings. On this side of the House, we're serious about building housing. Budget 2025 is going to deliver housing like we've not seen built in generations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that answer is completely unacceptable. The Canadian Home Owners Association, Builders Association, says that 5 years ago, new housing starts in the ownership market stood at 69%, the rest being in the rental market. Last year, that number had dropped down to 49%. So despite all the nice talk, clearly the Liberal plans are not helpful for prospective new buyers. So again, why don't they just adopt our plans and help restore the dream of homeownership once again for Canadians.
Great job, Jacob. Great job.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, our big focus is to build as many housing as possible. We're going to build that housing through Canada Build Homes. We're going to build that housing on federal lands, just like in my community in Ottawa Centre, where we're repurposing federal buildings, we're repurposing federal lands to build housing, and we will do that across the country. Some slogans is not going to cut it, as we see from the opposition. They need to stop obstructing. They need to pass Bill C-20 so we can start building housing across this land.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
The Canadian dream of home ownership is slipping away from young Canadians. The government's own housing agency says housing starts will fall for the next 3 years, going down as much as 18% by 2028, while prices keep going up. After years of Liberal policies that drove up costs and slowed down constructions, buyers can't buy and builders can't build. And the only solution the Liberals can come up with is to build a fourth housing bureaucracy. When will this government admit that Liberal rhetoric and bureaucracies don't build homes and finally scrap the GST on all new homes, incentivize building, and restore the dream of home ownership?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's regrettable the member opposite is in supportive of Build Canada Homes. I was just in his riding. Where we actually announced a project. And I spoke with the residents that are living in affordable housing there, and they talked about how important it was. So we know that with Budget 2025, we're working to accelerate construction. We're cutting delays. We're increasing permitting capacity. We're working with local governments to get more homes built. While we're doing that, they're voting against expanding mortgage rate criteria for young Canadians. They're voting against the first-time savings account, and they're voting against the GST credit for first-time homebuyers. Why?
The Honourable Member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, next Tuesday, Quebec will attend a UNESCO conference and continue its efforts to protect cultural diversity from the hegemony of web giants. Quebec will join forces with European countries to ensure that the 2005 UNESCO Convention, which protects all cultures in the context of globalization, also applies to the digital world. But it's not a done deal, because since Quebec is not yet a country, Canada votes on our behalf. And last June, Canada did not vote in favour of adopting a binding protocol. This time, Mr. Speaker, will Canada reconsider? The Honourable Minister of Culture, Canadian Culture and Identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It goes without saying that my predecessor at the last meeting really did a good job. I don't have anything that I can reveal yet, but we're on a similar wavelength. The Honourable Member for Drummond. Well, you see, Mr. Speaker, Canada votes on behalf of Quebec at UNESCO, and last June, Canada did not vote in favour of a binding protocol to protect our cultural sovereignty from web giants. Worse still, the government then proceeded to scrap the digital services tax that would have forced the GAFAM group to pay a minimum of royalties that could have supported our culture and our media organizations. Next week, Canada can take a step in the right direction by supporting the principle of a protocol. The entire cultural industry and the government of Quebec are counting on that. Will Canada vote to protect our culture? A yes or a no, particularly yes, would be much better than the answer we just got, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, if the member across the way really wanted to support artists and creators in Canada, he would vote yes, as he's telling us to do, but he would vote yes to our budget.
Lévis.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse et Saint-Chemin-Lévis. The Phoenix fiasco is back to haunt us. The Phoenix pay system deprived thousands of civil servants of their pay for weeks, for months. We all remember that. Today, there's the CURAM software. The Liberals are creating a Phoenix fiasco for seniors, but on a larger scale, according to federal employees. This project was supposed to cost $1.7 billion. The bill has skyrocketed now up to $6.6 billion. 93% of employees give the project a failing grade, Mr. Speaker. Why do the Liberals insist on repeating the same IT mistakes, billion after billions of dollars, at the expense of retirees, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors. We're modernizing a very old system. If we had not done anything or taken action, that would have been very problematic for seniors and their benefits. Currently, mistakes are being corrected and retroactive payments are guaranteed. If there are any individual cases, members across the way can give us their names and we will address those cases. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Échemins, Lévis. Well, that's a very embarrassing response, Mr. Speaker. There are retirees who've been waiting for their benefits for 9 months. It's shameful. Ministers are hiding the truth from Canadians. Ministers and public servants are being instructed not to mention the name of the Curam software. Why is the minister more interested in hiding her own incompetence than in helping our seniors receive their benefits on time? They really need those benefits, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, of course, seniors need to receive their pension. And we will, of course, ensure that. Over 7 million people are receiving their pension benefits through the software. The minister has been reassuring people every day, but the opposition just keeps asking the same question day after day, and we keep telling them the same thing. If they have any names, they should send them to us, or people can speak directly to Service Canada. The minister offered members across the way a briefing session. They should take the minister up on that and learn more about the Curam software.
The honourable member from Montmorency. Mr. Speaker, like across Quebec, families are spending more than 30% of their income to keep a roof over their heads. Vacancy rates are extremely low and housing insecurity continues to rise. Not knowing whether you'll be able to pay your rent or not causes stress and anxiety and constant pressure on the mental health of our young people and families. After 10 years of Liberal policies that have caused housing costs to skyrocket, how much longer will families have to live in uncertainty before this government takes real action to increase the housing supply and keep prices down? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're not taking Canadians for fools. They know that who is working for them in terms of affordability, Mr. Speaker. They don't have a plan or a solution, just rhetoric. On our end, we've already had agreements across Quebec. We had one with Nova Scotia as well, and Nunavut. We are going to accelerate building construction for affordable homes, and that is the mission of Build Canada Homes. We're going to do with Canadian supplies, with Canadian workers. We're going to support our industry, build more homes. And the question is, are they going to really be there for their citizens? Thank you. The honourable member for Montmorency, Charlevoix. The Liberals like to pat each other on the back, but the CMHC now forecasted nearly 20% drop in housing starts by 2028, and that means fewer homes, even less supply, and even more pressure on prices. Meanwhile, 93% of our young people say that they're concerned about the housing situation in the country, and 86% of builders fear for the survival of their companies. The industry itself is talking about a lost decade for home ownership. If the Liberals are going to take inspiration from our ideas every week, why don't they adopt our plan to cut GST on all new homes to boost construction and give young people to have the dream of ownership again? Mr. Speaker, we know that young Canadians are going through tough times right now with the cost of living and the cost of rent. But the good news is Build Canada Homes is already seeing results. In the first 100 days, we've moved to action. We've established major agreements with some provinces, and these projects won't be able to move forward until the opposition supports our budget and C-15 and the bill on Build Canada Homes. We need their cooperation. If they're really here for their citizens, they need to vote with us. Thank you. The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian dream of home ownership is fading for young Canadians. In its new report, the CMHC indicates that housing starts in 2028 could fall by as much as 18.1% over last year. The Canadian Home Builders Association says that current conditions will create a lost decade for home ownership in Canada. When will the government adopt our plan to stimulate residential construction by cutting the GST on all new homes so that our young people can once again hope to have their own homes? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With Build Canada Homes, we're responding to what Canadians really need. They want us to build homes that meet their needs and budgets. And all the member across the way is doing is talking about cutting GST on all homes. Just get rid of the tax, they say. I don't imagine how they could expect to govern if they're just obstructing. So, but we do have a real plan. It's called the Budget 2025, and we hope that they will approve it. Thank you.
The honourable member for New Westminster, Burnaby Mallardville.
Mr. Speaker, there's been an outpour of grief and support across this country following the Tumbler Ridge tragedy that occurred on Tuesday. This House has come together to honour the innocent lives lost. Can the Secretary of State for Combating Crime please reflect on the mass shooting in BC?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, the nation is heartbroken by this tragic shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. Our hearts are with the families and friends and loved ones of all the victims, and with the little girl who is currently fighting for her life. May we all keep her in our prayers. We are forever grateful for the speed and courage of the RCMP and all first responders on that day. Their actions and bravery have saved lives. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Despite the Liberals signing on to $52 billion to create an EV supply chain in Canada, the vast majority of EVs bought here are not made here. And now, despite the massive government subsidies, the auto companies are recording multi-billion-dollar losses on EVs and abandoning or delaying EV projects. But the Liberals now are doubling down with their new $2.3 billion EV subsidy, where Canadian workers will be forced to subsidize the purchase of foreign-made EVs, including EVs made in the United States. At a time like this, Mr. Speaker, it's unconscionable. Will the Liberals reverse course and stop Canadian tax dollars from funding the American-made EVs?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Of course, we believe in affordability, and we believe that Canadians can have access to EV incentives up to $5,000 for a car up to $50,000, and also for Canadian EVs, because obviously we believe that the future of the industry is towards electrification. Recently, there were more EV cells in Europe than gas combustion cars. And at the same time, we know that in the next 5 years, 40% of all the cars worldwide will be electrified. So our plan is to make sure that we bring our industry at the forefront of innovation and that good jobs are created here.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is the American tariffs have cost 5,000 jobs in Canada's auto sector and tens of thousands more jobs in the manufacturing sector across the board. And meanwhile, the Liberals created a $2.3 billion taxpayer-funded program that will subsidize the purchase of American-made EVs to the direct benefit of the American auto sector when they're trying to destroy our auto sector. This is wrong, and the minister can easily rectify this. Will she do that?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
I have a lot of time for my colleague, a lot of respect for her, but she also knows that our auto industry is facing obviously important challenges, but it took months for the Conservatives to actually denounce the U.S. tariffs on auto. And we know that the entire sector is integrated within North America, Canada, U.S., Mexico. Now, when she's talking about EVs made in the U.S., she has to take into account, and Conservatives need to take into account, that Canadian auto parts are part of these EVs. Is she going after the Canadian auto parts workers all across Ontario? That's my question.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
On Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening, I was in Toronto with the Unifor Skilled Trades Council conference. Those are the men and women that actually work in our auto plants to make sure the machinery and equipment works. And when I told them that their tax dollars were going to go to subsidize the purchase of American EVs, they were outraged and disgusted. Actually, they couldn't believe it was happening. So it's simple. Why would Canadian tax dollars be going to subsidize American EVs when Donald Trump is trying to kill our auto industry? Will they show they care about auto workers by cancelling the rebates for American EVs?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, finally, finally my colleague met with the Unifor workers.
Yeah.
It took him months to do that. We've been in contact with Unifor since the get-go, before even U.S. tariffs were imposed. We've been in contact with them to make sure that we would be working together as one Team Canada, because it took also months for the Conservatives to actually denounce the U.S. tariffs on our auto workers. We're there with the industry, from industry, businesses, to auto workers, unions. Everybody's in favor of the auto strategy, including Premier Ford. Why are they?
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
I have met with auto workers for the past 2 years. It's how we came up with our policy to take the HST off of all Canadian autos. It's actually the union workers' idea. What isn't their idea is to give their tax dollars to Donald Trump's America to build American vehicles. And these Liberals will not answer this question. Why are they giving these subsidies to EVs made in America when Donald Trump's stated goal is to destroy the Canadian auto industry? It's embarrassing, it's disgraceful, it's disgusting. They should look Canadian auto workers in the eye and apologize, but I know they won't.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I've known the colleague for a long time. He does have passion, I'll grant him that. Sometimes that passion leads him to act a bit too quickly. He forgot to talk to unions, Mr. Speaker. Earlier this week, he and other Conservatives raised the situation of workers at CAMI in Ingersoll, talking about the withholding of severance. What he forgot to do is actually talk to Unifor. Local 88 in Ingersoll came out with a statement. I'll review it for him, Mr. Speaker. We can look at it together. They said that their political posturing is unacceptable and they should not take advantage of the working people of Ingersoll. That's a direct quote, Mr. Speaker. It's unacceptable.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, this government's new EV strategy fails to put Canadian workers and automakers first. How is allowing 49,000 Chinese-made EVs into Canada and subsidizing the purchase of American-made EVs going to help the laid-off workers at GM in St. Catharines, who worry about the future of their engine plant? GM has been in St. Catharines since 1929. Will the Liberals support our motion to stop forcing Canadian workers to subsidize foreign-made vehicles and remove the GST on Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we stand with our auto workers, with unions, with businesses that communities are built around, but they are also standing with us. Auto workers, mayors, union leaders, premiers. Premier Ford called this a great auto strategy. But let me read this to the House. The president of Unifor Local 200 in Windsor, who chairs Unifor's Auto Council, says he's ecstatic over the measures put in place as part of Canada's auto strategy. He says, we're putting a third shift on. We want to make sure that third shift stays. This incentive is so important to our community. I was ecstatic to see the government put that in place.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, that member's not talking to the Unifor members in St. Catharines, who had an EV battery engine that was planned there, and GM moved it out because there's no sales. This government of Canada should not be subsidizing American-made EVs using Canadian taxpayers' money, especially when U.S. actions have already cost 5,000 Canadian auto worker jobs. Will the Liberals simply join us and finally put Canadians first and support our Conservative motion to remove the GST on Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
I know my colleague is fighting hard to change a narrative, but the auto strategy has been already out for a week, and everybody's in favor of it. So, including Unifor workers, of course, that are working at GM in St. Catharines, including Premier Ford, a very strong Conservative, which we all know, including, of course, the industry, auto parts workers, everyone. That's right. Why? Because fundamentally it's a good plan. We know that the industry is going towards electrification. Capital is following that innovation. And so we won't hold our workers back. We will protect them.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker. Speaker, after months of pressure from Conservatives, this government is finally slamming the brakes on its ideological electric vehicle mandate. But their new EV rebate scheme won't protect Canadian auto workers. It's just going to subsidize Tesla and send taxpayer money straight across the border. The government's gone from elbows up to selling out. They're driving other countries' economies forward, all while leaving Canadian workers in the dust. This Liberal government's policies are eroding our domestic vehicle manufacturing sector and the livelihoods of Canadian workers. When will they finally get behind the wheel for Canada instead of selling out to Donald Trump and Elon Musk?
L'honorable ministre.
Honourable Minister.
Speaker, what the Conservatives need to understand right now is industry needs predictability and clarity. At a time where, indeed, there's a revision of the USMCA. We were able to provide that. And by providing that, now we're having conversation with German automakers, with Korean automakers, with Chinese automakers that want to invest in Canada and create good jobs. Why are they fundamentally against what the market is saying, which is this is a good plan and Canada is a great destination to invest?
Hear, hear. The honourable member for Essex.
Speaker, Essex Windsor's auto sector isn't just assembly lines. It's mold makers, tool shops, part suppliers, and automation firms. The Liberals promise to protect their jobs, yet they're handing out money to American EV companies, importing Chinese EVs, and costing thousands of families their livelihoods. EV policy was meant to protect workers. So will the Liberals stop forcing Canadian workers to subsidize foreign-made vehicles and remove the GST on new Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The Industry Minister, the Prime Minister, every minister, this entire caucus is devoted to ensuring the well-being and future of the Canadian auto sector and workers, of course. Mr. Speaker, I invite workers, I invite Conservatives to support this government, to continue to ensure that measures are put in place to ensure the future well-being of that sector.
The honourable member for Hamilton East Stony Creek.
Canadian taxpayers should not be subsidizing American EVs when the U.S. trade conflict has already cost 5,000 Canadian auto manufacturing jobs and 37,000 since this Prime Minister took office. He needs to stop this insult to Hamilton auto workers and work with us to put Canadian auto jobs first. This is a time where the Canadian auto sector is looking for unity and action to stand up to Donald Trump. So will the Liberals join us and support our motion to remove the GST on new Canadian-made vehicles?
Yes.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, of course, if the Conservatives knew a lot about the auto strategy, they would know that we're already supporting the Canadian-made auto sector and the Canadian-made vehicles. That will be for the Dodge Charger, that will be for the Pacifica, and we are convinced that there will be more because we will have more investment in the sector. But they've been asking the same question. I guess that their leader gave them a sheet to read. But fundamentally, what they need to remember is the Canadians are in favor of this because the entire sector is in favor of this. Yeah?
The Honourable Member for Hull Elmer. Mr. Speaker, a deep wave of sorrow is hitting our country, particularly in Kitigan, ZB, like the member for Pontiac described very eloquently earlier today. 2 young lives were cut short far too soon, leaving their loved ones and their entire community in mourning. Can the Secretary of State for Nature share her thoughts on this tragic incident in Quebec? Thank you. The Honourable Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, it's already with a very heavy heart that I rise today to address this, my sincerest condolences to the family and loved ones of the victims of Kitigan ZB who are also in Ajnabig. A tragedy like this one, which adds to this already dark week, well, it is inexplicable. Using children as weapons to hurt others is unexplainable, and I am fully supporting this community and for everyone who is behind them, and all of my colleagues are as well. And with all of those who will have to intervene with this family and their loved ones, we have first responders, the healthcare community. It's really hard to understand the situation, so I'd like you to know that my thoughts are with you. Thank you.
The honourable member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, British Columbia is facing a public safety crisis. Extortion is now at record highs, and my community members are living in constant fear. Abbotsford Police have been clear. They are calling on elected officials to act urgently and work across party lines to confront these growing threats. Canadian safety matter now. Will the Liberals act today, vote for our Conservative plan, supported by the BC NDP Premier, to ensure those convicted of serious crimes cannot exploit our refugee system in order to stay in Canada?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for International Development.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier of the province, the Mayor of Abbotsford, the Police Chief of Abbotsford have all said, please go across party lines, get C2 pass, get C12 pass, get C14. I used to think that maybe it's obstruction that they're doing, but really I think they don't even read the bills, because if they read the bills, they would know it would be very impactful to pass them, legislate them, and get the tools to the police that need them right away. Thank you.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Apparently that minister wasn't around on Tuesday. Mr. Speaker, extortion is real, and newcomers to Canada are the ones that suffer. Here's an example of an extortion letter from Abbotsford. Warning, we are Indian gang members. We want our share from your businesses like protection money. We asking only $2 million in cash. We have links all over. Do not ignore us. It will affect you really bad. We gave you 1 month to decide. Threats like this one are followed by arson, shootings, and murder. And if caught, they claim refugee status. Will this government support our motion to stop people charged with serious crimes from claiming refugee status in order to avoid justice?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, extortion is real, and we're taking it very seriously. That's why back in June, we tabled lawful access measures in Bill C2. Those measures would make it possible for police to quickly investigate these types of crimes and child predator crimes as well, Mr. Speaker. It's important for us to give law enforcement the tools that they need to keep up with criminals. And the motion that's been brought forward by the Conservatives is basically moot. And C12, Mr. Speaker, all of the asylum cases that they're referring to would not be allowed.
The Honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, contrary to their claims today, everything is not fine, and the Liberal status quo is putting lives in danger. The Liberals, if what they're saying today is true, should have no problem supporting our motion that would stop non-citizen extortionists who shoot up homes in Surrey and in Brampton from filing bogus refugee claims or getting lenient sentences to dodge removal. Why are the Liberals so determined to keep allowing non-citizen extortionists to break the law and stay here?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, the same measures that I referred to on asylum that are in C12 currently in the Senate were originally presented in this House in C2 back in June. Had the Conservatives not obstructed at that time and cooperated with us, those asylum cases that the member is referring to would not be allowed. But good news, Mr. Speaker, that once that Bill C12 in the Senate passes, the claims that have been made will be cancelled, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, great news. We've already seen Build Canada Homes move quickly from promise to progress, delivering real results for Canadians. A great example, Dunn House Phase 2, located in Toronto's Parkdale community, which will provide supportive housing for at-risk seniors. Can the Minister of Jobs and Families, on behalf of the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, update this House on how this project reflects the government's approach to accelerating affordable housing across the country?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Housing.
I've heard the member from
Davenport over the years, and she is a tireless advocate for seniors and housing across Canada. Our government is working to ensure that seniors can age in place with dignity and the supports they need. Indeed, Dunn House provides rent geared to income units for at-risk seniors in Toronto, which helps them live safely and independently. The Conservatives are asking how many? Well, over the past month alone, we've created 7,500 new homes just in the last month in Nova Scotia, in Quebec, in Ontario. Why are they standing in the way of this program?
The honourable member for Foothills.
Canadian farmers are worried that an announcement by Beijing today means there is no deal to reduce tariffs on canola. On January 16th, the Prime Minister said he's engaged in a new strategic partnership with the People's Republic of China. And I quote, he said, by March 1st, Canada expects China to reduce tariffs on Canadian canola seed by a combined rate of about 15%. Today, Reuters said Beijing has delayed a decision on canola tariffs until March 9th. No decision means no deal.
Yeah. Right.
Why did the Prime Minister mislead Canadian farmers about having a deal to reduce canola tariffs for Canadian farmers?
Of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Free buckwheat!
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm certainly glad that the opposition is now starting to talk about canola. Mr. Speaker, we went for how long since we returned from China? I never heard a word about canola. The leader of the opposition has canola in his new riding. We're working hard. We'll continue to work hard. The lines of communication are open with China, and we'll continue to work with China, and we'll continue to work with every trading partner, Mr. Speaker. I met with the canola farmers last week in Ottawa, and we had a really good meeting, Mr. Speaker, and we'll continue to work with China and the contacts that we have there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is in a mental health crisis, and young people are being hit hardest. Yet counselling, therapy and treatment still depend on workplace benefits or the ability to pay in a two-tier system. The PBO confirmed that bringing mental health care under the Canada Health Act and achieving parity with physical health care through Bill C-201 would cost just 1.5% of total public health spending. Will the minister act now and bring mental health care under the Canada Health Act, yes or no?
Hear, hear.
L'honorable ministre de la
The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. And he knows very well that the mental health of Canadians is at the heart of our concerns. Health services, including mental health, are under provincial jurisdiction. I work closely with my provincial partners for them to deliver the best service possible for Canadians. And that ends question.
Oh, sorry, the honourable member for Sandwich Gulf Islands. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, we know foreign interference is a threat to Canadian democracy. It was confirmed by the Hope Commission, and we've taken steps at the federal level for federal elections to deal with the threat of foreign interference. So my question to the honourable minister is there and what is being done now to consider the threat of foreign interference to provincial referenda that could break to prepare?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, foreign interference in our democracy at any level is unacceptable, and the government has obviously carefully taken notes of the...
No, we need to hear this. The Honourable Government House Leader.
From the top, Mr. Speaker? Yeah. Foreign interference at any level and transnational repression at any level of our democracy is absolutely unacceptable. We, of course, have taken careful note of the recommendations of the Hogue Commission, and we will be responding more fully, I and my colleagues, in due course. We have, of course, as the member pointed out, taken steps to protect Canada from our adversaries and to provide more information to the public about these threats. We will stand firm against attempts to undermine our democracy, and Mr. Speaker, we will take very firm steps to prevent people undermining our unity as well.
Hear, hear.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member. Thank you.
Je juge avoir quand même utilisé un propos non parlant.
Well, I believe that I use non-parliamentary language, and I'd like to withdraw that language. That's highly appreciated. Thank you very much.
It being 3:13, pursuant to order made on Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Ms. Rempel Gardner relating to the business of supply. Call in the members. Thank you.